Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm going to be making a Memphis style rib rub. And I'm going to put it on the ribs, I'm going to cook it on the grill, or I'm actually going to put it on a smoker, and I'm going to show you how to cook it. So I'm going to reset the camera. I'm going to show you all the ingredients that go into the Memphis style rib rub. It's a dry rub. So I'll be back as soon as I get the camera set. Thank you. So here we are. I have a small mixing bowl. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of smoked paprika. We're going to dump that all in. I add 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. You can add up to 3. It depends on how salty you like your rub. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of black pepper. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then on this plate, add the remaining ingredients. I have 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of celery seed, and 1 teaspoon of mustard powder, or dried mustard powder. I'm going to try to get this all in here without spilling it. Once you have all the ingredients in the bowl, you're just going to mix it up. The hardest part is going to be getting your brown sugar broken up. What I like to do is I like to get in with my hands and break everything up. Because sometimes the brown sugar is a little bit hard to break up with a whisk. So you just get in, you break everything up, you mix everything together real well. Sometimes I like to run it through my fingers just to break everything up real good. Once it's all broken up, then I have a Ziploc bag that I have written on Memphis rib rub, and all you do is dump the dry ingredients into the bag. And this is your rib rub right there. Now I will store this in the refrigerator. This can be stored in the refrigerator for months. It never goes bad. It's all dry ingredients. There's nothing that ever hurts it. The only thing you got to remember is when you use it on your ribs or whatever you use it on, do not touch the seasoning with the meat. You always want to sprinkle it on separately. You don't ever want to have this contact the meat. All right, this is my rack of baby back ribs. I'm going to remove the membrane off the back of the ribs. There's a lot of controversy on whether you should, you shouldn't. It's entirely up to you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how rushed I am. But in order to get the membrane off the back of the ribs, you'll take a knife, you go underneath at one of the ribs, and you slowly pry up. And I already have this started. So as you can see, the membrane's right here. It's already starting to come off of the ribs. So the easiest way is to take a paper towel, grab the membrane, and just pull, just like this. It'll come off the whole rack of ribs to the very end. That is the process of removing the membrane. Some people say it makes them tender, more tender. The reason I do it is because when I put my rub on, it penetrates both sides of the ribs. Right, now this is my rub that I make. I store it in a plastic bag, I store it in a refrigerator. And then what you're gonna do is on the back side of the ribs, you're gonna You're just gonna cover the whole side of the back of the ribs with as much or as little seasoning as you want. Some people like a lot of seasoning, some people, my wife is not fond of a lot of rub. So I just sprinkle it on and I press it in. My hands are clean. I've already washed them. And I just press it into the ribs. This allows it to stick. And then I will let this set for 15 minutes for the rub to adhere to the ribs before I flip them over. All right, everybody, it's been 15 minutes. I'm gonna flip the ribs over. It's inevitable that some of the seasoning is gonna fall off, but if you let it set, you won't lose as much as you would if you just flip it over immediately. So I'm gonna pick it up, flip it over. You can see that a lot of the spice did not fall off. Now I'm gonna take more of my rub and I'm gonna sprinkle it on the top of the ribs. Now you can add, well, I'll show you that later. You can add barbecue sauce later on in the cooking process if you prefer. If you prefer a dry rub rib, then you won't add any barbecue sauce at all. So there is a seasoning on the top of the ribs. I'm gonna take my hands are clean, I just washed them. And you're gonna pack this in on the top of your ribs again. And now, after I clean my hands, I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator. Now, if you're in a rush, you can cook this in like 40 minutes. I always try to do it the day before, so I let it sit in the refrigerator for up to 24 hours. It just allows the seasoning to absorb into the meat better. There is some salt in it, so it's gonna draw some of the moisture out of the meat. And when I show it to you when it's finished, you'll see that the seasoning has actually turned dark because of the moisture. It adheres to the ribs much better. So I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator, and when I'm ready to cook it, I'll bring you back. All right, everybody, I took the ribs out of the refrigerator. They've been sitting in the refrigerator for 24 hours. Like I mentioned yesterday, you can see that since they've set, the spices have adhered to the ribs. It doesn't fall off. There's nothing that comes off on the ribs. I'm going to be putting them on a pit barrel smoker. So I'm going to come down 3 ribs. So I count down 1, 2, 3. I will put the hanger through. And as I have the pit barrel smoker outside heating up, once it's the full temperature, I'll come back and show you what we do with them from that point on. All right, everybody, this is my pit barrel smoker that I have. I have the chimney with wood chips in it. It's already glowing. It's ready to turn. So I'm going to take out the rack that goes inside. I'm going to dump the charcoal on top of the bottom. The bottom barrel is full of charcoal already. As you can see, it's glowing. So we'll leave that go. We need to put in these 2 rebars. This is part of the cooking system for the pit barrel cooker. So you put in the 2 rebar rods. There's a damper on the bottom that's shut completely off for our area. And then I'm going to take the ribs and I'm going to hang them on the rebar rod. Now all we do is take the lid, put the lid on top, make sure it's sealed, and this will cook for 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on the doneness that you want your ribs done. All right, everybody, they should be done now. I'm going to check the temperature of the ribs with an external thermometer. As you can see, they're 200 degrees, 198, somewhere in there. They are completely done. So these ribs are ready to come off. There. 196. It's right in the range where they're supposed to be. So I will take them and I'm going to put them on the cookie sheet and take the hook out. All right, everybody, I took them off the cooker. As you can see, this is the back of the ribs. I'm going to cut each one of them individually. So you just go down between each rib. You cut them. Sometimes it's hard to get to through the bottom part of it. There we go. Now I did not put any barbecue sauce on these. These are what they call a Memphis Style Dry rub. So there is no barbecue sauce on these. All right, after they're all cut, and you put them on your plate, and you serve them for supper. You can put a dipping sauce or a barbecue sauce on the side if you prefer. It's up to you. You decide how you want to eat them. And then we also made mixed vegetables for supper. It's corn, carrots, green beans, and we put a little bit of butter in them. So this is going to be our vegetable food. And as you can see, we have the vegetables on the table. She also has them on her plate. So go ahead, dear, try them and let me know what you think.
I like it. It's quite fresh and it's not that dry and it's tender. The meat is tender. I love it.
Okay. All right, everybody, I'm going to sign off for the night. I'm going to sit down with my wife and enjoy a wonderful meal. If you like our channel, please subscribe, hit the bell so you'll know when I upload a new video. I'm going to try to upload one every week, hopefully on a Wednesday. So, like I said, if you like it, please subscribe, hit the bell, and you guys have a wonderful night.